So in this upload where myself and Collin Kennedy talk about the 2021 prospects for Oklahoma, the camera stopped recording for just a little while. I just want to preempt you. So if you see not me for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is, that's the reason why. I apologize. All right, let's do this. Is there something you want to touch on that we haven't?
I think that probably sums it up. I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the quarterback position before wrapping up on this signing day podcast, because obviously Chandler Morris coming in, Caleb Williams is the target after Brock Vandagriff makes it a commitment with Georgia. I'd just be curious about your take on the quarterback recruitment world, especially because I think a lot of people after Vandagriff went to Georgia just assumed that Caleb Williams would be in the bag. And I think we're learning very quickly that is not going to be the case at all, especially with what LSU has been able to do, essentially revamping their offensive schematic. So kind of some thoughts on Chandler Morris coming in, even though he's not expected to be a contributor in 2020, maybe what his ceiling is in a Sooner uniform. And then what do you believe is the route to land Caleb Williams, knowing who you're combating for his commitment?
I think the ceiling for Chandler Morris is absolutely a starting quarterback at Oklahoma. I just don't see it while Spencer Rattler is still at OU. Now, 2023 comes around. Yeah, absolutely it could be Chandler Morris because he has that sort of arm talent and he'll get a little bit more seasoning and he'll get bigger. I don't worry about Chandler Morris just like I don't worry about Tanner Mordecai, right? I put them on the same category. But talking about Caleb Williams, no, it's not a slam dunk by any means. That said, Bryce Young wasn't a slam dunk either. Didn't stop Riley from just settling on that one guy. And then when that one guy decided to pick another place, he didn't really talk much, right? That was it. It was, and I found that fascinating because we were all freaking out. Myself, mostly. I was freaking out because you take a quarterback every year. You take a quarterback every year. You take a quarterback every year. And it didn't look like he was going to get a quarterback. And then if Chad Morris doesn't get fired, probably doesn't get Chandler Morris. So I would have been really interested to see what his backup plan was. But we won't figure that out until Caleb Williams decides what he's going to do. And that's what's so both frustrating and interesting about Lincoln Riley, right? Because you move on from one, you go to one, because you can only recruit one at a time. Because as I learned this watching Brandon Harris's recruitment. So Brandon Harris ends up at LSU. But Nick Saban wanted to recruit Brandon Harris, and his head coach asked, okay, so how many quarterbacks you offered? I don't know, 5 or 6. Okay, so you really haven't offered any. That's the tack that most are going to take. If they know that you have offered a bunch of them, but you haven't settled on one that you want, that's going to play. Settling on Caleb Williams after Brock Vandagriff, kicks you to the curb and shows you a cold shoulder, you might not be able to bounce back from that. I wonder about that. And I get that his dad is in on OU and he thinks it's a great place for him to be, but Caleb doesn't really talk that much. I talked to him last summer after he took a visit to OU, mostly on the strength of his friend vouched for me. Right? He's like, I don't really do these. I don't really like doing, but so-and-so said that you were cool, so we could talk. He ain't going to talk to most people, right? You're going to find him out in the wild. You're going to find him on a sideline. But as far as picking up the phone and whatnot, so I wonder how much of that goes on with Riley, right? If you don't get a lot of FaceTime with the kid, probably not going to win him, which means you're going to have to actually put in the work to let him know. And it gets back to that roundabout point that I was making. You got to outwork people. Like I know we talk about you can't expect to compete with the SEC, and I'll say, yeah, I can. It's OU or it's Texas. Yes, I can. I just have to outwork Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, and Ed Orgeron. I mean, we talk about what Ed Orgeron has been able to do, but what he's awesome at is making sure that he recruits people that ain't got a post mailbox. There's a story coming out of California. He had a guy where he didn't have any kids that were going to be good enough to go to USC when Ed Orgeron was still defensive line coach. And he says, I'm coming anyway. And he gets up there and he hangs out and he talks with everybody. He meets all the kids. And he said, Coach, I told you this is a waste of your time. I appreciate it, but what this waste of your time? He says, no, it's not. Some point you're going to have a kid. Might not be here, might be 10 years from now. But I'm showing up, and you're going to see my face. And he does that everywhere, right? Like, he went down to Newman Academy last month to talk to Arch Manning. And Arch Manning's a 2023 kid. And I'm like, Ed, he'll be there. He's in New Orleans. He's taking no chances. And I think that's what you're going to have to do with Caleb Williams. If you really want him, especially after you already took Brock Vandagriff's commitment, you're going to have to show him that you really want him. It really comes down to being recruited. Show me that you want me rather than saying this is the best situation for me. Because we see guys win dudes they have no business winning all the time. I make this analogy on the radio a lot, which is many of us men do not deserve the women we have. They're better than us, right? They're better than us. But you know what? We recruited them. We didn't say, I got a spot. Do you want the spot? I'll find another wife. I'll find another girlfriend. You want the spot? I got 300 offers out. You want the spot or not? No. She says no. You say, that's all right. I'm going to be here tomorrow. She says, I'm not going out with you. That's all right. I'm going to be here tomorrow. Will you marry me? Nope. I don't do marriage. I don't do that. Okay. Well, I'll be here tomorrow. And you essentially, you wear her down by showing her you're it. You're all I want. And that's recruiting, right? That's recruiting. So I'm going to be interested to see how far that goes. I think I answered your question, and I think I took that in a roundabout way.
No, you did.
Okay.
And piggybacking off of that, you mentioned the fact that they have to show him he's wanted. Well, this is a guy that showed up in Norman as he watched Brock Vandagriff essentially be the priority for Lincoln Riley and the Sooner staff, right? I mean, he was at camp when they were all about Brock Vandagriff. He showed up in Norman on a couple of unofficials when he knew full well that Vandagriff was going to be the face of Oklahoma's 2021 class at that time. And then as the length of time went on and we saw what transpired, there's kind of that fresh, clean slate now. And it may be a clean slate for Oklahoma, but I have a hard time believing that that's not sitting in the back of Caleb Williams' mind. Like, well, I wasn't necessarily a priority before for that program, so now I need to know that that's the place I want to end up, because it was just such an interesting dynamic for him. He loved the school. He loved the offensive system. He loved what Lincoln Riley was bringing to the table, but there was the other guy, and he was kind of on the outside looking in. So I full-heartedly believe that now you have to do what you're talking about. How is Lincoln Riley going to just be persistent and say, you know what? We want you real bad. And if Caleb Williams countered with, well, you didn't want me that bad before because you had your other guy, he said, well, we want you bad even more. We want you even more now that we don't have that option. And so that's what's really intriguing to me about the whole Caleb Williams situation is how do they, I don't want to say mend that relationship, but how is it reestablished now that Vandagriff is out of the picture? And then just real quick to touch on Chandler Morris. I mean, a lot of people have asked me, because I watched a couple of his games and I've been around the program of Highland Park for a while, what can he do for Oklahoma? What is the ceiling for him? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's a starting quarterback at OU. I think I get a lot of slack because I think, yes, he's a very, very good arm talent. But to me, he's more of a West Coast quarterback when I see him play. He is so good with the timing routes, getting the ball out quickly, anticipating and placing it in an accurate manner. In my opinion, though, if you're going to be an Oklahoma quarterback, you're going to establish what Lincoln Riley wants to do offensively. You have to have maybe the arm that, say, like a Spencer Rattler or a Kyler Murray or probably even a Baker Mayfield in the back end of his career had. Just that live action arm style. And so to me, I think Chandler Moore's a really, really good quarterback. Do I think that he can jump the hurdle of a Spencer Rattler or maybe a Caleb Williams down the line if he does end up in a Sooner uniform? I just don't know, but I do like the take by Lincoln Riley because you just never know. As we mentioned earlier in this podcast, circumstances change. And as we know with the Caleb Williams situation, it's not a guarantee. So Chandler Morris is definitely a guy that you can fall back on as the thing plays out. It's very intriguing, as we always know, the quarterback position under Lincoln Riley.